So for this video, I'll be demonstrating the tiny pinch pot jar. You want to make sure that you start with 2 equal sizes, like size ball of clay. The way that I did this is I actually just took 1 ball of clay and then I cut it right in half. So I've already went ahead and pinched out one of my halves, and I'm going to pinch out my other side. This should be review at this point. If you're doing this project, make sure you are pinching out evenly. You don't want to over pinch any area, but you also don't want to leave any thick areas. As you're pinching out, the trickiest thing about this tiny jar will be that these pieces need to meet together. So if I pinch out this rim wider than the rim of my other half, they won't match very well, which just gets tricky, and then you have to kind of find a way to merge them together without them matching and fitting well. So I'm feeling around, just making sure all my walls are generally even. And before I slip and score the 2 pieces together, I absolutely want to smooth out the inside. If you leave the inside gunky, it becomes a lot harder to smooth it out once it's slip and scored together. So double check those fit. Then I'm going to smooth out the inside of my other pinch pot. And then it's time to slip and score. So I'm going to try to find a spot that looks easy because my pieces are a little bit bumpy. That seems to be a good spot. I have a few gaps that I'll have to kind of wear down. And then I'm going to score. So I have my slip here. It's 50% water, 50% clay, murky, yucky. And then for scoring, you can use a pin tool, a scoring brush, a fork, whatever will create lots of scratch marks for you. And then you are scratching or scoring the surface down. This is the process of slip and score. So the slip is the wet clay, and the scoring is the process of making those hatch marks in the clay or those scratches, however it's easiest to remember for you. And I am trying to score down the areas that feel higher, and I'm going to do the same on this side. That way hopefully they merge together well. So you guys can see all that gunky slip that I'm pulling up on the scoring brush. You can find scoring brushes with the scoring ribs and the smoothing ribs in the back in the drawer that's labeled scoring brushes and ribs. And then once my surface is really, really scored well, I'm going to take those 2 pieces and I'm going to merge them together. I'm going to try to find where I was before. I might not be able to find that exact spot. And then I'm just going to push. And for a little bit, that seam is going to be there because I want that to firm up. And I'm just going to kind of keep twisting, turning, making sure it's pressing together evenly. And essentially you're going to get a ball, a sphere. And again, I'm just pressing them together right now, but I'm not going to put any pressure on this seam. So I'm going to give that some time to firm up before I start smoothing it out and creating my the lid. So I've let the seam firm up a little bit. I'm scoring right on top of the seam to help really merge those together. And then I'm going to go through and smooth out that seam. And I'm likely going to have to do the same thing on the inside to make sure that seam looks good on the inside of our jar as well. So now I've scored the outside. You can simply smooth this out just by using your thumb. But any of the methods that we've talked about with smoothing would work as well. You can use a rubber rib to go through and smooth it. You can use the back of a spoon to smooth. Whatever you feel like works best. Depending on the consistency of your clay, different things will work best. I just enjoy using my hands. I feel like I have a lot more control with it. So that's the way that I would choose, but any of those smoothing techniques are appropriate. So then I have my sphere, my jar, but I need to create a lid. There is still a subtle seam mark left that I will probably go in and work out a little bit more. While it's still in the sphere form, you have the ability to start to shape it. So if I wanted to smush it more, I could do that. I can kind of shape it into what I would like it to look like. If you press into it too much, it will start to crack on the outside because it's putting so much pressure on the sphere. But you can kind of shape it, you know, more oval versus more like perfect circle, and kind of find the shape that you want. And then figure out where do you want your lid to be. And I'm just gonna go this route. And I need to figure out where my lid's gonna be and then where are my feet gonna be. So right here, I'm gonna do my lid up here. I'm gonna take an X-Acto knife and I'm going to start to cut around. I'll do basically a perfect circle, except I'm gonna do a little indent so I know where my lid should go. So I'm gonna come down right here with the X-Acto knife. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And I come down with that X-Acto knife. And then I'm going to do a little straight cut across. Again, just so I know where my lid goes every time I want to put my lid down. So I'm just kind of pulling up the lid. And now I know exactly where my lid's going to go every time because I went ahead and made that seam. You can also see that my pinch pot was pretty thick right there, or so it looks. But that's mainly because I cut in at an angle. So I can cut a little bit of this out to open that up a little bit more, as long as I don't take out the entire ledge. But that will just help with the opening a little bit. And I can see in there, you may not with the camera, but I can see in there my seam. I can try to turn the light on there, but my seam is in there, and you can see that from my angle. And so I am gonna go in there with my finger and just smooth out the seam from the inside. It's mainly just slip that has oozed out of that seam, which is a good thing. You want lots and lots of slip. So now I have my sphere, I have my lid, and then I need to consider, how do I want to put a foot at the bottom? I can simply just tap it down. I don't need to make something beautiful or crazy at the bottom, but if I want to create like a nice little foot or lip for it to come up, I could put a coil on the bottom, I could put some feet. I've had students put little like animal feet at the bottom of their piece. And you can even put like a little animal head up at the top for your handle. But this demo video is mainly just how to build the base. Going from here, this is where you get creative. So you come up with your own design for a handle, your own design for feet. Feel free to start to think about textures. You can start to roll textures into your pieces. If I wanted to roll this walnut all the way around and create a texture in my vessel, you can add texture, you can slip and score, you can carve words into it. You can be as creative as you want. The project is simply to create a well-crafted tiny jar, either with pinching or slab built. So here's the pinching demo.